In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Our Lady of Fatima, pray for us. Saint Joseph, pray for us. Saint Faustina, pray for us. Blessed Conchita, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, God is being extremely generous to us. He's making His will incredibly clear. Yesterday, we learned that Luisa's revelations are beyond any doubt, thoroughly authentic. Today, we learn of the greatest spiritual, theological traditions throughout church history have all been pointing to this. But as if that were not enough, also, God has made His new and divine holiness completely explicit in many additional revelations of the 20th century beyond even Luisa's. Luisa, yes, is the primary herald of the gift of living in the divine will, certainly. But that doesn't mean that God hasn't also given intuitions of it to other mystics of the 20th century since this gift has been available. You know, similarly, St. Faustina, Jesus specifically said to St. Faustina, "You are the secretary of my divine mercy." That doesn't mean that there weren't other private revelations about divine mercy. Of course there were. St. Faustina is the primary divine mercy revelations. Let's take a look then at where else we see the divine will, this gift of living in the divine will so explicitly revealed. But first, take a minute and consider. We have another, just in the nature of what's happening in general, we have another great validation. Nowhere before the 20th century did you see these particular things about the gift being said. I just went through the whole foundation, and there was much pointing to the gift in that. But nowhere were certain things explicitly said before the 20th century. Suddenly, in the 20th century, we see exploded throughout private revelation throughout the world, between mystics who didn't know each other at all, the essentially same message being revealed. There's no way to coordinate that, humanly speaking. This is God on the move. And in that regard, I'll again recommend the book that I quoted a couple times in the last talk, Hugh Owen's New and Divine, The Holiness of the Third Christian Millennium. And that in turn is a quote from JP2 himself. But also Father Joseph Gueduzzi's The Splendor of Creation. I'll only present some key points. If you want to see more about how this new and divine holiness is revealed throughout the 20th century, take a look at one of those books. I want to quote, though, John Haffert. Has anyone heard of John Haffert before? Okay, several people. Good. He's one of the most respected and greatest promoters of Fatima. He was probably the most zealous promoter of the Fatimists. He died several years ago, but he was a big fan of Luisa also, and living in the divine will. He, in fact, wrote the foreword to Hugh Owen's book. I want to read a brief quote from his foreword. "It is faith in the promises of Fatima, faith in the triumph of God's will on earth as in heaven. And we can dare to believe that it can begin now in each of us, if we believe enough to say yes to the great gift that God now offers to the world, the gift of the new and divine holiness." John Haffert was completely convinced of the validity of this. But something, I would usually start a discussion like this talking about St. Faustina's revelations, because those are 100% fully approved, as exalted by the church as we can get, and we do see the gift of living in the divine will revealed in there as well. But I want to start with someone else tonight, because we even more clearly see the gift of living in the divine will revealed in another mystic. In fact, after Luisa, there's one mystic in particular who this gift is revealed second most clearly. And something really big happened last Saturday with this mystic. Anyone know? Conchita. She was beatified. Conchita Gonzalez. Full name, Conchita Cabrera de Armida. She was beatified. Her revelations speak clearly about the gift of living in the divine will. Again, it's Blessed Conchita Cabrera de Armida. I want to talk a little bit about her revelations on this gift, this new saint. But before I do that, let's just zoom out for a moment. What are the odds of the main thrust of pervasive teaching of the mystical writings of the beatified mystic being false? 0. This is a beatified mystic. And this isn't just some footnote. on Conchita's revelations. The main thrust of her revelations is something called the mystical incarnation. And if you read the description of it, which I'm about to do, you'll see that this is clearly the gift of living in the divine will. So let's take a look. First of all, a little bit about her. She was born on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in the year 1862. She was a wife and mother to 9 children. Another very important thing about Conchita, she reveals to us that this gift is for everyone, not just, as we hear a lot, rightfully so, this gift is not just for priests, it's not just for monks or nuns, it's for absolutely everyone. Conchita died exactly 10 years and 1 day before Luisa. Their lives almost perfectly overlapped. Monsignor Arthur Calkins wrote a lot about Conchita. I know Monsignor Calkins personally. I can vouch for his great spiritual insight and holiness. He's a theologian, very learned theologian, and he wrote, "By any measure, Conchita was an extraordinary woman. She was the foundress of 5 works of the cross." Those are apostolates she started. An awe-inspiring mystic and spiritual writer, still not well known, unfortunately, in the English-speaking world. A huge part of Conchita's writing, in fact, is made up of 66 volumes of her spiritual diary, which she wrote in obedience to her spiritual directors, most of them bishops, several of whose causes have been opened in view of their possible beatification. Saints often appear in constellations, each supporting and enriching the others. Exactly like what we see in Luisa's life. Conchita had a profound ecclesial and Marian vocation. Not only did she have intense devotion to the Mother of God, but she also lived in constant union with men. This became especially manifest in the great crowning grace of her life, received on March 25th, 1906, known as the mystical incarnation. Bishop Joseph Madera explained this grace as follows. The mystical incarnation may be compared to the indwelling of Jesus in Mary from the moment of his conception in her womb. The Lord had raised Mary to a level of holiness never to be equaled by any other human being. Nonetheless, the specific grace granted to Conchita on March 25th, 1906, as far as we know, has been granted to only a limited number of souls. And remember, this is someone writing who doesn't know about Luisa's revelation, but he's rightly realizing that this is profound and new. So he's naturally concluding that this must be very limited, and we now know it's not at all. Maybe those who received it is limited, but not those to whom it's offered. Continuing with the quote here. The fundamental rule is that even though God grants extraordinary graces to chosen souls, what he confers on them is eventually intended for the upbuilding of the entire body of Christ. Incredibly important point. God does not just arbitrarily give a few people this extraordinary sanctity. He's calling all of us through these few people to the same sanctity. And a big mission he has with Conchita, I think, is again to remind us that this is for everyone. Someone might look at Luisa and falsely conclude, oh, I have a family, I have a job, I have way too much to do. Conchita had 9 kids. That involves a few things. That's keeps you busy, but not too busy to live in the divine will. Continuing with the quote here. Although Conchita received this extraordinary grace in 1906, she would effectively spend the rest of her life trying to fathom what had been done in her and how to respond to it. Okay, so what is this mystical incarnation? Let's take a look at the event itself in her diary. Again, this is the Solemnity of the Annunciation, March 26, 1906. This would be 17 years after Luisa received the gift, if you go at 1889 date. Conchita says, before Mass, prostrate before the tabernacle, I humbled myself as much as possible. I begged the Lord's pardon, I renewed my vows, I promised him that I would never let my heart be taken over by the things of the world as I had done up to now. Thus, my soul, empty of all else, I received him in communion. I was taken over by the presence of Jesus, quite close to me, hearing his divine voice, which said to me, here I am. I want to incarnate myself mystically in your heart. Conchita responds, would it be, my Jesus, spiritual marriage? Jesus responds to that, much more than that. It is rather the grace of incarnating me, of living and growing in your soul, never to leave it, to possess you and to be possessed by you as in one and the same substance, in a compenetration which cannot be comprehended. It is the grace of graces. It is a union of the same nature as that of the union of heaven, except that in paradise the veil which conceals the divinity disappears. For you now keep ever in your soul my real and effective presence. To speak of something much more than spiritual marriage never would have been tolerated in the past, because it was always held that there was the highest degree of sanctity possible on earth. Now we have a beatified mystic as the main purpose of her writings to say that there is something much more than that, now available for the asked. Father Marie-Michel Philippon, I want to quote him. He was a Dominican priest, very insightful spiritually. In fact, we know this because another mystic who also had the gift revealed not as clearly as Conchita, St. Elizabeth of Trinity, Father Marie-Michel Philippon, he wrote about her and advocated for her before she was even a servant of God. Her writings are very controversial, very bold. This is a new sanctity that's being revealed. But Father Marie-Michel really advocated for her long before she had all these approvals, and now she's a canonized saint. So he also, this same priest, Father Marie-Michel, discovered Conchita, and he wrote a book called Conchita, A Mother's Spiritual Diary. You can actually find it online for free. It's posted, the whole thing. Conchita, A Mother's Spiritual Diary. And this is, he includes a lot of quotes from Conchita's actual diary, which is not fully translated into English, so this is one of the few resources we have diving into Conchita's revelations. But let's take a look at what he says in there. I'm finishing these pages in which we have wished to present, though incompletely and imperfectly, Conchita's person and doctrine, a synthetic view, and overall view is demanding. Theologians will all pose this question to himself. What then did God intend to bring about through this humble servant for the benefit of his entire church? And here's his one-sentence response to that question. Again, he's studied her vigorously, he's pondering what is it that God wishes to bring about through Conchita. And this is what he says. The greatest degree of holiness is attainable for everyone. The most sublime mystical graces described by the spiritual masters are not privileges confined to souls consecrated to God, priestly and religious life. They all offer to all Christians, no matter what their state of life. It seems that God wanted to give us through Conchita living historical proof of this truth. He says that there's a new type of holiness. Father Marie-Michel says we are incontestably in a new era of spirituality. What constitutes its newness is this: the calling of all to the greatest holiness, a transfiguration of daily life, the sanctification of the ordinary, divinization by faith, by love, and by the spirit of sacrifice in ordinary life, and the greatest holiness, transcendence of the message of the cross. Even the most banal, ordinary actions are made of value to the infinite by the offering of love and union with Christ, an imitation of the last years on earth, the Mother of God, in the service of the nation of church. All right. So Father Philippon is leaving no room for doubt or confusion. A new holiness is upon us. It is the greatest holiness possible, and is being offered to everyone. That much is completely clear in Conchita's revelations, and she's now blessed, as of last Saturday. Exactly Luisa's message. Luisa, of course, goes into more detail, but it's the same fundamental message. So let's take a look at a couple more of Conchita's own words here. God's will is a bouquet, which is made up of all virtues practiced in an ordinary manner or in a perfect state. His will divinizes them, makes them shine with the splendor in his presence. He gives to each a new value in the divine scale, purifies soul, vests them with special color pleasing to the Holy Spirit. This total and perfect submission to the most holy will of God and Lord is the greatest of all virtues the soul can possess. I had no other food from the first moment of my incarnation. He's quoting what Jesus told her now. I had no other food from the first moment of my incarnation than this divine will. It is through it I came into this world. Through it I was raised above the earth to consummate my life in the cruelest of martyrs, to then soothe my agony. It was my solace while on earth. I would have suffered death 1,000 times to fulfill it. Divine and active love burned in my heart, and had as its main motive to carry out the divine will in behalf of man. The redemption was not, but the faithful accomplishment of this divine will. Its echo sounds constantly in the depths of my most loving heart, causing me to throb for the salvation of souls and the glorification of my Father. There is a still higher stage in this divine will. It is total self-surrender interior to the same will of God. This self-surrender leads to the highest summit of perfection. It is the supreme stage of all virtue. So, we can see that there's no room for doubt. Conchita was clearly